स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaaya te namaha. Welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita study. Today we are going to deal with the 12th verse of the second chapter. Before entering into the subject, we will chant the verse on the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. If you have Bhagavad Gita in your hands, you can join me in the chanting of the 12th verse of the second chapter. Natvevaham jatu nasam. You can repeat this after me. Om Natvevaham jatu nasam Natvam neme janadipaha Natvam neme janadipaha Nachaivana bhavishyamaha Nachaivana bhavishyamaha Sarve vayamatah param Sarve vayamatah param. The simple meaning of this verse is, now Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, who didn't want to fight, he was afraid of killing his own kith and kin, though they were on the side of unrighteousness. And finally, he surrendered at the feet of Krishna for guidance. Then Krishna started giving these beautiful teachings of Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Sri Krishna takes up this stance. As I told you in the last class, Sri Krishna deals with Arjuna in three different ways, three strategies he uses. So the first one which he is taking up is from the philosophical standpoint, the angle of spirituality. The second one, he takes up the angle of ethics or morality, that is righteous and unrighteous thing. And thirdly, from the mundane, worldly view, so that you should not set a bad example or get bad name by running away, escaping from your duty. Now the simple meaning of this verse, where Krishna is telling Arjuna, do not think that philosophically or from the highest standpoint of view, gnana, because you are talking like a man of wisdom. So even from the standpoint of wisdom, that is knowledge, highest knowledge, then too you need not grieve. Why? Do not think that I was not there in the past, you were not there in the past, and these kings who have assembled to fight were not there. Such an idea is not at all true. All of us are not going to exist in the future is also not true. So this is the simple meaning. That means though our body dies, we are not going to die. We are immortal beings. In the last verse, that's the 11th verse of the second chapter, I had told you that Krishna has condensed the Gita Shastram, whole summary. In what way? He tells the reason for all the sufferings, all the worries, all the troubles in this life is absence of knowledge, ignorance. Because we have ignorance, absence of knowledge, that is the reason for all the suffering, all the confusion. And so now Krishna takes up the first step is to clear that ignorance. So, to clear ignorance, what is the only way is to give knowledge. So, now in this verse, Krishna is elaborating on our real nature. In the last class, I had introduced this verse and given you some explanation on that. Today, I'm going forward, I'm going to elaborate it still. Let us have an in depth analysis or in depth study of this verse because it's always useful if we connect these teachings of Sri Krishna to the present day, adapt it to the present day, and adapt it to our life. Now, Krishna is explaining from the angle of philosophy or spirituality. We should remember all about Atman, our real nature. Now, we are facing a pandemic. We are having a lot of fear because of that, anxiety, whether we are going to die, our near and dear ones are going to die, what is going to happen. The fear of death is haunting us because of this pandemic. So, study of our real nature, study of this Bhagavad Gita will help us to overcome this fear. That's why all the teachings, if adapted to our life, if the knowledge, we get that knowledge, then that is the sure way by which we can overcome fear and anxiety. In the last verse, Krishna is told, do not grieve, O Arjuna, do not be fearful, do not be afraid of, you should not worry. That is what the teaching was. We are worrying because of ignorance. We have ignorance. Now, to remove that ignorance, Krishna is giving this knowledge of who really we are. Suppose we are into difficulty, we get some problem in our life, we are getting a lot of blows in our life, then we start thinking. Until then, when everything is going on smoothly, we don't think of serious things, we don't think who we are. But when there is some calamity, when there is crisis, then we start thinking who we really are. Where did we come from? Where are we going? Where will we go after this life? Why do we come to this earth? What is the meaning of this life? If we have to come, stay together with all the family members, and one fine day we have to part with all of them, and what is the meaning of this life? It is just suffering, pain. We think that there is some happiness, we want to live together with all the family members, and suddenly we depart. What is the meaning? We can't find. So we start thinking of who we are, what is the meaning of this life when we get into crisis. Until we have some trouble, we are not going to think. That's why Swami Vivekananda tells, difficulties are better teachers than happiness. Holy Mother Sharda Devi also tells, in a similar fashion, miseries are gifts from God. Now, does Swami Vivekananda expand about how difficulties are better teacher than happiness in our life? Yes. I think I have mentioned this in some of my earlier previous classes, but again, in this context, if we explain that, it will be very meaningful. Swami Vivekananda tells, each time we get insulted, each time we are in pain, we are in distress, somebody criticizes us, we are put into problem, we are punished, you are scolded, what happens? Behind the scene, what is happening? So you can just think how for 2, 3 days you will be in distress. You will not have peace of mind. Your mind will be always in sort of restlessness, anxious, stressful. So what's happening then? So your identity with your ego, with this body mind complex and ego, is shaken, is dislodged. And what is the other thing which is happening? Your identity with your real nature, that is Paramatma Swarupa, that is God, Parabrahma Swarupa, Atman, is lodged, established. So each time we are shaken, each time we are into difficulty, each time we are into trouble, miseries, difficulties, that dislodges our identity with ego and it lodges our identity with our real nature, that is Atma. Isn't that not good? Isn't that wonderful? So, difficulties, each time we face difficulties, we are established in our real self. So, difficulties are better teachers than happiness. We think that happiness is very good. You might remember in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna tells that when Kunti, after her children, the Pandavas, had got the kingdom and she was happy living in the palace with all the luxuries. So then Krishna came to her and then asked, Mother Kunti, have taken so much of trouble to fight for your children, to get this atmosphere to the children. So now I just want to give you a boon. Can you ask some boon of me? And Lord Krishna, the Lord of the world, universe, is coming and asking Kunti, oh Mother Kunti, ask some boon of me. What was the boon that Kunti asked of Krishna? Very meaningful. Kunti asks, Oh Lord, if you want to give me the boon, please keep me always in difficulty. You may be shocked. Is she a fool? Is she an idiot? What kind of boon is she asking? The Lord is standing in front of her and asking, ask me a boon. Instead of asking for luxuries, that and this for the children, for herself, heaven, that and this, she's telling Lord Krishna, always keep me in difficulty. Yes, now let us put a break to our thoughts and then ask Mother Kunti herself. Now, Krishna himself, though he knew the heart of Kunti, even he feigns or acts ignorance and asks her, Mother, what is the kind of boon you are asking? Why are you asking like this? And do you know what was the reply of Kunti? Kunti told, Oh Lord, when I was in the forest with my children, going here and there in all type of difficulties, in the Vanavasa, Agnatavasa, incognito, living in incognito, then all the time, in all the difficulty, I used to remember you, Lord. Now that I am in luxury, I've forgotten the Lord. I've forgotten you. So I don't want that I should forget the Lord. I should always remember, I should always meditate on God. So I have noticed, I have gone through my life, reflected on my life, and seen each time I was in difficulty, I was remembering you. But now I'm in luxury and happiness, I've forgotten you. So your remembrance, your meditation is very, very important to me. So please keep me in difficulty so that I will always remember. So that is very, very important. The memory of Lord, the meditation Lord on Lord is very important. But if you remember, if you meditate on the Lord all the time, there is no possibility of you getting into difficulty. You will never get into difficulty. That's why there is a saying in one of the South Indian languages that for a wise person, it's enough that if he is given a beating with words, some scoldings by words, the beating of the word is enough. He will learn from that. But for a dullard, for a fool, he needs the beating of the stick. Then only he will learn. So here, the difficulties need not be taken up. If you always remember God, there is no question of difficulty coming. Mother Sharda Devi used to tell, when all the time, whenever you remember your Ishta, Ishta means the chosen ideal, God. Where is the question of Anishta? Where is the question of difficulty? If you are always remembering God, if you are always remembering about your real nature, the Atman or Paramatman, then there is no question of difficulty at all. That's what Krishna is guiding us, taking us through. That if you have this knowledge of your own self, then you can overcome all kind of worries, all kind of troubles. So now we are all having this fear of this for our life, for our life of the safety of our near and dear ones. So this thought of Krishna, who we are, who they are, here making use of Arjuna, Arjuna's ignorance, the Lord is giving us knowledge. So let us adapt that to our life and we will be blessed. And now we shall go forward to see, make an in depth analysis, in depth study of this verse. Now, as I told you, the time has come for us to go deep, analyze who we are. We have to know because only during the time of crisis and trouble, make use of this opportunity. That's why there's a saying calamity to opportunity. Make use of this calamity, this pandemic or COVID 19. So I was making fun with our devotees here. Let us not call this as COVID 19. It's very nearing to Govind 19. We will call it Govind 19. At least instead of calling always telling COVID 19 and remembering death and that virus, why can't we call it Govind 19 so that we can remember God always? Govinda will be remembered, the Lord. Gam Vindaha, the all knowing Lord always. Govinda means all knowing. Sarvagna, the Lord who knows everything. So let us remember Govind 19, not COVID 19. So likewise, now let us make use of this calamity, convert it into opportunity, because during this period we will be in fear, stress. That fear of life will be haunting us, abhinivesha. So we'll make use of this calamity as an opportunity to think deeper and understand who we are. This is an opportunity. Now we will understand our real nature very quickly. So before going to this, the teaching of Krishna, I just want to tell you a story from the life of Kalidasa, which will help us that we should know ourselves, our real nature should be known. Otherwise, we can't be complete human beings. What is that? This is the story between Mother Saraswati and Kalidasa. Who are you? Is the story, name of the story. Who are you? Or who am I? During one of the travels, Kalidasa felt very thirsty and looked around for water. He went there near a well. He saw a woman drawing water from a well. He went up to her and asked her for water. She agreed to give water, but asked him, who are you? Introduce yourself. Now, Kalidasa thought that an ordinary village woman was not worthy of knowing who this great Sanskrit scholar, a poet Kalidasa was. So he said, I am a traveler. He introduced himself as a traveler. But the lady replied very intelligently, in this world, there are only two travelers. Who are they? The sun and the moon. Both rise and set every day and keep traveling perpetually. You can't be a traveler. Then Kalidasa said, okay, mother, all right. Then I am a guest. The lady promptly replied, in this world, there are only two guests. Who are they? Youth and wealth. Both are temporary and hence can only be called the guests. They come and go. Youth comes, wealth comes and goes away. So they are really the guests. You can't be the guest. Now, intrigued at the intelligence of this old lady of the village, Kalidasa said, okay, I am a tolerant person. Sahana Sheela. Sahana Sheela Vyakti. Now the lady replied, in this world, only two truly knows the meaning of tolerance. Who is that? Who are the two Sahana Sheela Vyaktis are? Bhumi, Earth, Mother Earth, nature, and trees. How much ever you stamp on the earth or do any trouble, dig it, trouble it, she always forgives you and gives you good things of good about you only. That is Mother Earth. And how much ever stones you throw at the tree for the fruits, cut it, burn it, both continue to nurture you. The tree will always give you fruit. It will always give you that cool air to you, oxygen, taking the carbon dioxide itself, giving that oxygen, and also it will make the atmosphere cool. It will keep you cool. So you may throw stones at the trees for the fruits, you may cut the tree, whatever you do, it always give you good. So Mother Earth and tree are the only real Sahanashila Vyaktis, tolerant people. Then now Kalidasa was completely perplexed. He thought that, oh, I thought I was the most intelligent person, the great poet. I thought this old lady of the village is not so intelligent, but now he was in a state of perplex. Fine. Now he got a little upset. He told, I'm a stubborn person. Hatavadi. The lady smiled and said, there are only two truly stubborn personalities. Who are they? Our nails and our hairs. We keep on cutting them non-stop, but they continue to grow. They come again and again. So they are the stubborn personalities. Kalidasa had been patient so far, but now he got very angry, he was upset. He said, I am a fool. Now the lady gave a wide smile and said, there are only two kinds of fools in this world. When he told he's a fool, she told there are only two kinds of fool in this world. The first one, a king who rules without having any capability or knowledge, and a minister who is a sycophant to such a king and lavishes praise on such a useless king. Kalidasa realized that he has been outsmarted. He fell at the feet of the lady, and when he touched her feet and then got up, whom did he see? He saw Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning and wisdom. Now Mother Saraswati told Kalidasa, Kalidasa, you are wise, but only if you know yourself do you become Manushya, Manava, human being. Until you know your real self, who you are really, what is your truth, what is the truth behind you, who you are, self knowledge, then you are still not a complete man. A complete man is a man who knows his real self. That is what Mother Saraswati is telling. If you know yourself, do you become a Manushya, a person without any awareness of his self, Atman, his own real nature, has not reached the pinnacle of being a human being. So, what are we to learn? Children should be made into Manushya. Manavatva is to be given to them. Know themselves. More than teaching them how to earn more money and become rich, parents should teach them to become aware of themselves and become better human beings. Better human beings means to know your real nature, who is behind you, who am I really? So that's why Swami Vivekananda tells education is not just collection of information, but education is a manifestation of perfection which is already within man. And then he tells education is character building and man making. So complete human being, if you have to become complete human being, you should know yourself. That is real education. That is real knowledge. You're gaining real knowledge. That's what Krishna is trying to give. So I told you all this so that all these things in this context, you'll really know who you are. You will get interest. Yes, I should know myself. Otherwise, I'm not a complete man. I'm not a Manushya at all. So this will help us. Now we shall go deeper into the study and know who we are. And Krishna is helping us through Arjuna to know ourselves. Now, in this context, we should know that Tattva Bodha by Adi Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara, it is told that Atma Kaha. Atma means my real self. What is that Atman? We all tell that we are Atman, we are not this body. What is this Atman? Who am I? So Shankaracharya in Tattva Bodha tells Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatiriktaha Panchakosha Sthitaha San Avastatraya Sakshi Satchit Ananda Swarupaha San Yastishtati Sa Atma. So, who am I? What is my real nature? What is that Atman, which we call ourselves as Atman? Then here Shankaracharya in Tattvabodha is telling, Adi Shankara tells Atman is separate from Sthula, gross body, Sukshma, subtle body, Karana, Sharira, causal body. And then he tells that which is present in the 5 sheaths of this body. What are the 5 sheaths? Annamaya Kosha, food sheath, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So then, Avastatraya Sakshi, which is the witness of all 3 states of existence. Then what its real nature? What is your real nature? We are called our Atman. What is our real nature? Satchit Ananda Swarupaha. That is, we are infinite existence. Sat means infinite existence, absolute. Chit means infinite consciousness or knowledge, absolute. Ananda means infinite bliss, absolute. So we are of that nature. That is my Atman. I am that. I am of that nature. Existence, knowledge, bliss. This is Atman. So we are all conscious entity. Now we should go deeper because you know that there are 2 parts, important parts. There may be other yogas, but 2 important yoga is Bhakti Yoga and Gnana Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, we are going through the path of iti iti. We will divinize, we will defy everything. We will see God in everything. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. I will see God in everything, all this ancient, insentient, everything. I will see God and go forward to God. But in Gnana Marga, in Gnana Yoga or the Sankhya Yoga, which Lord Krishna is telling us in the beginning itself in this path of knowledge, we are negating everything. Neti Neti Marga. That is iti iti, this is neti neti. Na iti, na iti. This is not Atman, this is not Atman. So we should know what is Anatman, that is not Atman, and which is Atman, we have to differentiate. So we shall start with this body. We think of ourselves, this individuality. Who are we? Who is Atman? So we came to know who is Atman. So who is beyond the 3 that bodies, what is that? Causal body, then subtle body, and the gross body. So we should know when we have to differentiate between that, then we should know exactly. So we will make not a very what do you call detailed study, but for our knowledge here in Bhagavad Gita here in this short time, we'll make a little brief study of what this is, what the sheets are. So then only we can understand. So Panchakosha, 5 sheets. Suppose you are going to a war, then you will have so many shields. That sheet, the bulletproof, that kavacha. Now, the people who are going to fight this pandemic, the COVID-19, so they are now wearing. You can see how the doctors and other people who are working there with the patients, they are having so many different sheets, coverings to protect themselves. The mask, the face mask, the body mask, the hand gloves, everything. So many sheets. Likewise, we have in our body panchakoshas, 5 sheets. These are the layers of the body that seemingly cover the Atman, the real self or consciousness. The Tvam, Dhau, Padartha of Mahavakya, Tattvam, Asi is determined by the analysis of Panchakosha. We can understand this Atman by knowing these 5 sheets. Then we can differentiate. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this sheet. Then finally I'll come to know. This process of going towards that Atman, knowing myself, is discussed in Brahmanandavalli chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad in Vedas, which is a part of Taittiriya Samhita of Krishna Yajurveda. and in which particular chapter is discussed ways and means of achieving the Lord, God, which is called in Vedas, it's called Brahman, the highest. It gives a detailed description of the dimension of human personality, of the dimension of the self. Now, what is this Atman then? I have to know myself, I am Atman. Then what is this Atman? The Shruti or the scriptures declare that human birth by divine grace is meant to strive to know and understand the Atman. Why have we now we ask the question, what is the meaning of this life? Why did we get this human life? Our scriptures declare that human birth by divine grace is meant to strive to know and understand this Atman, to know who really are, you are. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also tells in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in his teachings, what is that? We have so many goals, different goals in our life. We are setting goals from our childhood up to the old age, everything. We have different goals to achieve. But the highest and the highest goal, Ramakrishna tells, is God realization. The same thing is told here. Ramakrishna tells God realization is the highest goal of human beings. Likewise, it is telling this life, Shruti, the scriptures declares that human birth has been given by divine grace, is meant to strive and know and understand the Atman, not for sense enjoyment, not for wasting our life in unnecessary things, but to know our real self. The knowledge and understanding of the Atman invariably results in Jivan Mukti, liberated even while living. In other religions and other places, we have this concept of afterlife, going to heaven somewhere. That's why on the tomb it will be written RIP, rest in peace. But the question is, why should we rest in peace after death? Why can't we live in peace? So our scriptures teach that we can be liberated even while we are living. That is called Jivan Mukti. So how can we have that? By knowing our real self, that is Atman, by understanding, by realizing, by having the knowledge which Krishna is giving about our real self. Then only we can live in peace. We need not wait until death to rest in peace and go to heaven. We can make this life itself a heaven by knowing our real self. So, spiritual liberation is of the nature of bliss. Why are we striving to set some goals and achieve something, money, all the things, name and fame? Because everyone wants peace and joy. So, this spiritual liberation or knowing the self is the nature of infinite bliss. Then, why should you strive for the smaller bliss of this life? Maro to hati ko maro. If you have to kill an elephant, biggest this thing. If you have to steal, go and steal the treasure of a king. Why do you steal small things? That's the saying in Hindi. That's a different thing. But here, taking that cue, instead of going for smaller tidbits of puny joys, why can't you go for the highest bliss? That's what our scriptures are telling. So, spiritual liberation is the nature of bliss in which there is complete negation of all sorrows. So, it is not only highest bliss, but also negation of all sorrows. You lose all the sorrows, there will be no worrying at all. It does not arise by mere, that doesn't arise by mere study of scriptures or shastras, by mere doing sacrifice to gods, by mere performance of karmas and meditation on the divinities, will not do. That is only helping us to purify our mind. But if you want to get that highest bliss, then you have to have the knowledge of yourself or Parabrahman or Atman or Paramatman, which is of the nature of Satyam, Gnanam and Anatam. Because the knower of Brahman, Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati, will become one with God. He will become God himself, Parabrahman itself, Brahmaiva Bhavati. Knowledge is gained after renouncing attachment to all sense objects and all actions for one's body also, that harbors the mind that makes for bondage, which is not the Atman. Because we have confused, we have been hypnotized to think that we are the body, we are this ego, we are the mind. So now we have to understand. Then we have to know if, first of all, if you have to know Atman, you have to know what is an Atman in which we are, in this matter which we are identifying ourselves. An Atman, that which is not Atman, is the not self, non self, is everything that is not God or Atman. All objects of consciousness are called anatman. All objects of consciousness are called, including the mind and the ego. Means everything, all the matter in this world, which we see, the sense objects, the material things, other than this Atman, God is Anatman, including our mind, including our ego. This samsara, this transmigratory existence is the vast turbulent ocean which is the embodiment of avidya, ignorance, and its effect that cannot be crossed without the aid of perfect wisdom, knowledge. The samsara is the anatman. This samsara, this world, this universe, this transmigratory existence is anatman. By non-realization of the true nature of the Atman is mistaken as this body, the Karana Sharira, the causal body, the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body, and the Sthula Sharira, gross body, which bodies constitute the Anatman. For a person who is aware of the Atman, there is no other go except to do karmas intended for purification of the mind. Now we shall have a very brief knowledge of what is this Panchakosha, what is this Sthula Sharira, which we are talking of. Then where comes the Atman? How are we to separate this? So now the Panchakoshas are listed as follows. What are they? The first one, the physical body, Annamaya Kosha, which is formed of the food sheath is the Annamaya Kosha, the external body which we see. Then comes the Pranamaya Kosha. What is this prana? Prana means vital energy, the force, the vital energy sheath. Then the third covering or the sheath or the kavacha is Manomaya Kosha, the mind sheath. Fourth one is Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect sheath. Fifth one is Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. So these Panchakoshas, the five bodies are divided, the five sheaths, koshas, not bodies, are divided into three bodies. What are those three bodies? The gross body, Sthula Sharira, is made out of physical matter. This body consists of Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha. The sheath, the Annamaya Kosha, the food sheath, and the energy sheath, the vital energy sheath, Pranamaya Kosha, constitutes the gross body. This gross body. Then the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, this body consists of Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha. Then the causal body, the Karana Sharira, this body consists of Anandamaya Kosha. So I think it's clear now. Three bodies and five koshas, sheaths. The Atman is our real Atman or God or Paramatma Swarupa. We all tell, oh, God is in our heart. We have to meditate in the heart. God is present in everybody. Don't we tell it always? Now you have come to that. The Atman is behind or beyond these Panchakoshas. The Sthula Sharira is Annamaya Kosha, foodful, consisting of gross body. The Sukshma Sharira is made up of Pranamaya Kosha, energy, sheath, and Manomaya Kosha, instinctive, the perceptual body. And Vijnanamaya Kosha is cognitive, the conscious body, the intellect body. Then Karana Sharira is the Anandamaya Kosha, blissful, the transcendental body. Now the scriptures insist upon elimination of these five sheets of Shariras. The doctrine of Panchakoshas represents the hierarchy of human values and is held to be useful springboard for a modern scientific understanding of cosmology and evolution. So now we have to separate. We are not this, we are not this. Beyond that is Atman. So that's why I gave you a brief description of what it is. It is still more, you can get knowledge of it, which will be helpful, but I am not going to the details of those things. Now we shall come to the teachings of Krishna here, because to understand that we have to have the knowledge of these things. So I gave you a brief description of that. Now going forward, We started with the saying every individual, all of us, are conscious entity. We are consciousness. Every living being is conscious entity, which means there is consciousness in this body mind complex. This consciousness is not found outside the body. Like the table is inert, the mic is inert, the computer is inert, the wall is inert, the fan is inert, but the individual we, living beings, are conscious entity, which means there is consciousness. We are alive, we have life in the body. There is sentiency in this body, life. Now we ask the question, what is this consciousness which makes the living being sentient? What is this consciousness which makes us sentient and alive, different from a table, different from the other matter? Then we said consciousness is separate entity of formless. We can compare that to light, principle of light. We can compare it. It's not light, don't get confused. It is not light, but it is comparable to the light principle. This consciousness is not part of this body. It is not the property of this body. It is not even a product of this body. Consciousness or Atman is not a part, not a property, and not a product, but it is a separate entity which pervades and enlivens this body. It's not part, it is not a property, it's not a product of this body, but it is separate entity which pervades and enlivens the body. So to understand this, I have to give the example of light, exactly like this light. Light, you all know that, is not the part of our body. Light is not a property of the body. Light is not even a product of this body. On the other hand, light pervades my body, makes this body visible, isn't it? How are we seeing this body? Because light pervades. When we are seeing, what makes this body visible? When we are seeing the hand, you are seeing two things. One, the hand, another thing is the light. It is intimately on the hand, but it is not a property of the hand. It is not a product. It's not a part or product of this hand. This is the first lesson we have learned. Okay. Then we said that this separate entity called consciousness is not bound by limitation of the body. First thing we came to know, the first point of what is consciousness. The second point which we came to understand, we have to understand is consciousness is not bound by the limitations of this body. Just as the light is not bound by the limitation of the hand, means the hand has got spatial limitation. There is a limitation of the space. But light pervading is pervading, the hand is beyond the hand also. Hand has got boundary, the body has got boundary, but the light does not. Likewise, the consciousness also survives even when the body is gone. It is still there. That's what Krishna is telling here. Gatasun agatasun. Don't think that these people are gone. They were not there and they will be gone after death. No, it will be always there. That is the meaning of the simple meaning of this shloka. So now you might have understood the consciousness survives still. It is not survival. It is still there always, even the body is gone. I gave you the example of the light and what is the nature of consciousness. It is not limited by the body. Consciousness is not bound by the spatial and time-wise limitations of the body. Spatial means limited by space, the boundaries. What is the second lesson? Consciousness is not bound by space, time-wise limitation of this body. This is the second lesson. What is the third lesson we have to learn? When the hand is removed from here, when the body is removed from here, even though the light continues to exist there, you are not able to see the light, isn't it? Because there is no reflecting medium, so you can't see the light. So does that mean that light doesn't exist there? Because there is no reflecting medium, light continues to be there. But when the hand is removed, it's not visible. So when there is hand, the light is still there, but visible light. When there is no hand, light is still there. We don't see the light. We should not say that it is not no visible light, but there the light is it is in the invisible form. Similarly, so this is an example. As long as the body is there, this consciousness or Atman is in the manifest form. That is, we are alive, sentient. When the body is there, yeah, you can feel, you can see the presence of Atman manifested, sentiently, manifested as sentiency and life, etc. When the body is removed, consciousness or Atman is not detectable. It is not in the detectable form, traceable form. So in Sanskrit, we use the word Vyakta Chaitanya and Avyakta Chaitanya. When the body is Avyakta, when the body goes away, it is Avyakta Chaitanya. When the body is gone, when the body is existing, it is Vyakta Chaitanya. When the body we die, then it is Avyakta Chaitanya. Therefore, consciousness or Atman is always there in Vyakta form or Avyakta form. And this consciousness is called Atman, our real nature. And the body is called Anatman, this body. I told you different sheaths of the body. What are they? I explained. There is still further, deeper explanation of that, but due to the paucity of time, I cannot explain all those things. We'll go into the matter what Krishna is trying to tell. So we have come to a very interesting portion about we are getting, we are feeling as if, what is our real nature? We are not this, we are not this. So consciousness is separate from the body, is not bound by the limitations of the body. Minus the body, consciousness is in invisible form. It is there. You cannot trace it or detect. It is not detectable. But when the body is there, you can see in the form of sentiency and life. And that consciousness is called Atman. That is, we are that, you are that. And the body, not only just the body, it's called Anatman. When I say here body, it also includes our mind, because mind is also matter. Thought is the highest form of the force, but that is also matter. We should include the mind, body, mind complex, and ego too. So beyond this body, mind, and ego is that consciousness that is Atman. From this, we come to know that every individual is a mixture of Atman and Anatman. Just as whenever I see any one of you, I'm seeing two things. What are the two things? I see you. I'm also experiencing, which we generally take for granted, the light there. When I see you in form, how can I see you through the eyes? So I have to see you only with the light. So I see you, your form, this body of yours, and also there is light. You may not know it. So we are seeing two things, the body and the light, which is pervading on you. So when I'm reading the book, if it were midnight, I would not be able to read it. because light is not there at that time. Now I am able to read because there are two things. One is the book and another thing is the light pervading. But generally, we take this light very lightly, for granted. But remember, do not take the light lightly because without light, you will not be able to see anything. Therefore, all of us are what we are because of Atman, consciousness. So, when we see this world, this body is consciousness and Anatman, that is this body. Now, the next lesson we have to learn is that the spiritual sadhana, what are we now to learn from this, the spiritual sadhana which we have to do? From this verse, teaching of Krishna, because I always connect that to our life. Without that, it's useless. Just knowing for sake of what you call just like a novel, reading Bhagavad Gita is not useful. How can I put that into practice in my life? So that is very, very important. Now that opportunity has come. What is that? How can I use this as a spiritual sadhana or spiritual discipline? That is shifting my identification from perishable anatman, this body mind complex ego, to the imperishable atman is the spiritual sadhana. So I should shift. Now my shift is I'm identifying with this body, with this mind, with this ego, that I am that. I'm thinking that I am these three things or these all these things. But now I have to, the spiritual sadhana is, my spiritual discipline is shifting my identification from this perishable anatman to the imperishable atman consciousness. So when I say I'm the body, what is the consequence? I will have to accept that I am a mortal. To say that I am the body, I should be ready to accept mortality, that is death. Mortality means death. But how many people are ready to accept death or mortality? All want to live eternally. But many people will take, Swamiji, we would not mind death or mortality, but we should not die suffering. The death should not be prolonged. Lingering death, going to the hospital just like now. If you get this coronavirus and if you are admitted to the hospital, they will put you on ventilators and so many other things into the nose, into the mouth, into the throat, the ventilator. That's suffering we cannot. So if once and for all we die, no problem. That doesn't happen. If you accept, if you identify with the body, you have to suffer. There is the consequences there. You cannot escape. So I have seen one great personality when I got to see him in the hospital with all these ventilators. Still he was conscious. Told us, see, because they had put all into the nose, into the this thing, everything, mouth, everything. They had put pipes, that, this on ventilator. He was conscious and he was telling us, see, they have yoked me like a bull. So if you identify with this body, then you have to suffer the disease, the old age, and all those things. So remember, as long as you claim you are the body, your identity is the body, you should also be able to accept old age, disease, and all the pains and sorrows, mortality. If you do not want these things, there is only one way. What is that? I have to shift my identity from anatman to atman, that's permanent, from perishable to imperishable. And if I shift my identity to atman, which will be my, what will be my attitude? I will not hate the body, need not hate the body. I should not hate the body. One can love the body as an instrument for all sort of transaction. The way you can do it's an instrument, just like you have a pen, you have a car. So this body also will be an instrument. I always give an example. There was one devotee when I was living in Bangalore. He had purchased one costliest car in those days, maybe 25 years back, very costly car. So that he wanted to take me in that car for a first ride. So I took him to a village where we were doing some village development work in Shivanahalli in Bangalore, 30 kilometers from Bangalore. On the way, there was some unscientific hump, very badly done. That special car was prepared for very good roads, not these bad humps and bad roads and mm, pits, potholes. So now, when that beautiful, costly car was maneuvering that unscientific hump, the underbelly of the car started rubbing. It was making that squeaking sound. Then I was noticing the face of the owner of the car, the devotee. So as the underbelly was rubbed and the squeaking sound, I could see the squeezing and painful expression on the face of the driver, on this devotee. Was he the car? Was there pain to his body? No, the car is not feeling the pain, but this human being is feeling the pain. Why? He has identified himself with that car. So the underbelly of the car which is being rubbed and it doesn't have the pain, the car doesn't have the pain, but the man is feeling it. Why? Because of the identification. Similarly, if we identify with this body mind complex, then you have to undergo all these sorrows, worries, and all the problems. That's why the sadhana, what is that we have to learn from this teaching, beautiful teaching, the gnana? The Lord is giving who we are. We analyze all these time what we are through the scriptures. We are not these five sheaths. We are not the three bodies, the ego, not the ego and other things. We are Atman. If we start identifying ourselves with this perishable body, we have to suffer. With the imperishable Atman, then there will be only joy because it is of the nature of consciousness and joy only. So you need not hate your body. You look after this body with great care, just like any other instrument. There is no question of I going away from this body. Therefore, the greatest advantage is the shift from mortality to immortality. That's why we pray to God. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Tamas means ignorance. Jyoti means knowledge. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya means, O Lord, lead me from ignorance to knowledge. And by that, what happens to me? Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. From mortality to immortality. In fact, we are not going from mortality to immortality. We are going shifting that identity because we are identified with this body, shifting to that Atman. You are not giving that immortality to Atman, it is always immortal, free, liberated. So it's only shifting of that identity, which is very, very important. Now, this wonderful thing we came to know about our own real self. So, our own real nature. Now it is time to go and see what Lord Krishna wants to tell much more about our real nature and other things of our Atman. Bodies appear and disappear, but not so the Atman, which ever is. Now, a question may be raised as to how the Atman persists when the body perishes. The answer is the next verse which Krishna is telling. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantarah praptihi dhiraha tatra na muhyati. Shall we chant this shloka? Om Dehinosmin yatha dehe Om Dehinosmin yatha dehe Kaumaram yauvanam jara Tatha dehantarah praptihi Dhirah tatra na muhyati. As the indweller in this body experiences childhood, youth, and old age in this body, similarly, the indweller, the Atman or Paramatman of God, also passes on to another body. Just like it is the same Atman which was going through the stages of childhood, youth, then middle age, then old age, then death, everything. After the death, it is the same Atman which will continue, just like it is happening. So the Sarirman is not affected thereof. These are all the clouds which is changing outside. The sky is not affected by that. The sky is always the same. Blue sky is always the same. The clouds come and goes. It may be covering the sky. Just like these things, the death, the going of the body. So as I told about Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira and other things, it's only you are giving up your gross body, that's all in death. The other things remain. The Atman also remains always, eternally. The other things also, the Sukshma Sharira and the other causal body also remains. It goes on. Only in the death, the Sthula Sharira, the gross body is gone. That's all. Now, we are having only 2 or 3 minutes to understand these things. So, before looking at this detailed study of this verse which Krishna has told, I just want to tell you one story of King Janaka. King Janaka ruled a state in India, bordering now bordering Nepal and Bihar. Even now you can find that place, Janakpuri. He was known for his spiritual greatness. He was a realized soul. Janaka is given as example. One night in his palace, he dreamt he was a beggar, suffering from penury and starvation. He woke up immediately, summoning the wise men of his kingdom. He posed this question to them. He summoned all the wise men. Am I King Janaka who dreamt that I was a beggar? Or am I a beggar now dreaming that I am a king? Nobody could answer, all the great people. But it was Ashtavakra, one of the great sages of that time. He came to Janaka and gave the beautiful answer. O king, you are neither the king nor the beggar. One child, beautiful child, was growing. Everything was good. And one fine day, the child died due to some disease. The farmer did all the duties while he was sick. He tried to nurse him, take him to the doctor. He did all the duties which had to be done because that farmer was a realized soul like Gnani. Now, while all were crying, when all were disturbed because that child, one child was there, wife was crying, all the father-in-law, mother-in-law, grandfather, everybody was crying. But this realized soul, he was doing all his duty, what is to be done, but he was not grieving, he was not worrying. The wife was upset, you're not shedding even one drop of tear, your son is dead here. Should have been grieving, you should have been worrying. What is this? Then the farmer replied, beautiful reply. Yesterday night I had a dream. In the dream, I was a king and I had 6 beautiful children. They were all growing up with a lot of education and all, everything. They were about to become kings, princes. So now in the morning that dream broke. Now shall I cry for the child who has died now, or shall I cry for the 6 prince which I had in my dream? He knew that even this in the waking state is unreal. The dream state is also unreal. The only reality is Atman. So whom shall I cry for? That was the reply of that farmer. Ramakrishna tells this beautiful story. So that's what Krishna is telling. Do not grieve, do not be stressful, do not be worried. Do your duty, live in the present, be mindful. Just like Arjuna, Krishna is telling, do your duty as a Kshatriya, you have to fight the war. Should not run away, do not escape. Like that, whatever might be the condition now, if Fear of death is lurking everywhere. The coronavirus is spreading. Instead of worrying, with the same energy of worry, use this and do your duty, whatever has to be done now. Live in the present. That is more important. So we shall try, by the grace of the Lord, to implement all this beautiful teaching during this period of crisis. Even in this period of crisis, you need not worry. You can be happy. Do all the service to all the people. Do look after your children, father and mother, wife, everybody. Do your duty to the society, but do not worry. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Do not worry. Do not grieve for anybody, but do your duty. What is the duty? Live in the present. That is your duty to fight the war. For us, what is the war? The battle of life. Now, this fear, the coronavirus battle, has to be fought without fear. So, we will go into the deeper analysis and study of what Krishna is telling in this next verse, which we now chanted in our next class. Until then, we shall be cogitating, meditating, we'll be doing manana. We'll think of this and go deeper, analyze ourselves, know, meditate on our real nature. Thank you. Om Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkrupa Tamaham Vande Paramanandamadavam. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.